Hi friends, I'm so excited to be here. I hope that you're having a fabulous time in the Renewed Vision Summit that Kristen is hosting. It's been a really good time, and I know that if you have been watching the interviews from all the speakers that you're getting a lot out of it. I know that I am, and I'm just excited to be here learning with you guys, and I'm excited that Kristen has given me the opportunity to come in here and do a training live with you all. So this is gonna be a pretty short training. It's only about 15 to 20 minutes, so we're gonna buckle in and just go for it, right? So we're gonna talk about daily flexible routines for the faith-filled mompreneur. I know that because you're here, I assume, because you're here, that your priorities are in this order: Christ, your family, so your husband, your children, and then your business. And I know that it is hard, can be very difficult to juggle all of those things, right? But like you know, like I know from doing both, things don't just magically happen. We have to be intentional with the activities that we do, that the things we say yes to, and the things that we allow into our life. We can, and I know you can, and I know I am, and so we can have a faith-filled family and business without one feeling like it's always drowning because we're focusing too hard on the others. So that is what we are going to be talking about. Flexible block scheduling rhythms are typically triggered by events. Oh, so we're jumping right in, right? So my name is Elise. I didn't tell you that. Okay, so my name is Elise, and I am on a mission to help other mompreneurs be able to be successful in business without losing their mind, right? So it is to create peace in your family, your life, and in your business. I know you can do it. So let's jump into this. Man, I'm just trying to ready to go, right? So a flexible block schedule are typically triggered by events, not necessarily by time. So we live in a world that is determined by time. So sometimes your blocks are determined by time, but overall, they are triggered by an activity that happens that switches you naturally into a new set of activities or tasks that need to be done. The benefits of this is that they are flexible and adaptable. You're not rushing from one thing to the next because of a time that has happened. Sometimes we do have to do that. Like, let's be honest. Like, if you drop your kids off at school, like, they need to be there at a certain time, or, you know, your husband goes to work or you go to work at a certain time. Like, those things do have to happen at a certain time. But overall, the flexibility of a schedule like this that's triggered by events and not by time is an easier way to, it's easier on your brain, it's easier on your family. Hi, Emmy. Emmy, right? Yeah, I think so. I'm glad you're here. So here we go. I'm sorry, just threw myself off. My bad. So what this does is it helps gets rid of overwhelm. Here, I'm getting back on track. It gets rid of overwhelm, creates freedom, and it aligns with the current season that you're in. So you're not wasting valuable energy, mental energy, physical energy, thinking about what to do next. Like, I don't know about you, but I would imagine if you're anything like me that I have wasted a lot of time thinking, okay, so here we are sitting here and we got to be over there at X amount of time. So I need to do this, and we need to go there and do that and do all this. Like, what do they call it? Like mom math or something. Like, that wastes a lot of time in your brain and a lot of energy in your brain. There we go. So we don't want to do this. So something that is beautiful about this is that you are not married to this forever. Right? These switch as your seasons switch, and you can rework them. I have a gypsy heart. And I make a joke, and it's only kind of a joke, that I can only be committed to two things in my life: Jesus and my husband. And then after I had my son, he got amended in. I'm also committed to him for life. But this I'm not committed to for life because I know it can change. So from one gypsy heart to the next, if you're worried about setting up a schedule or a rhythm or a routine or whatever you want to call it and it freaks you out, don't be. This will be helpful. I promise. The freedom that you get from not having to waste mind energy is totally worth it. Totally worth it, and not going to drag you down the way I thought it would when I started, okay? So let's get started because, like I said, we do not have a ton of time. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is to chunk out your day. Also, like I said, we don't have a lot of time, and so what I would like you to do is just kind of listen, and then if you need to rewatch it, go back and rewatch it and write down the things in the order so that you can create a schedule yourself. Because we're trying to get through this so that you can get back to whatever you were doing before, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is to chunk your day out into blocks. If your days look different, like each one, just start with one. Don't overwhelm yourself by thinking about all your days. You want to think of your days as large blocks of time, not scheduled hours like we had talked about before. These are determined by activities or changes in tasks. So something natural that happens in your day. If you're home a lot, and like naps and food things are natural ways to switch over to your next block of time, right? If you have to leave the house, that's a natural way to block out a time. If when you get home from work, or your husband gets home from work, that's a natural time to switch over into a new block. And so I'm going to give you a lot of examples from my life because I like examples, and I'm going to imagine you do too. So these are the blocks. I have 9 of them, and there's actually probably more than that, but it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. It just is times that switch over in the day, right? So I have a morning alone block. I get up before everybody else, I'm alone. I have a morning with my son block. When we leave the house, a work/nap time block, and after the nap block, after my husband gets home, family time, then we do dinner, that's its own block, after dinner, and then bedtime, and then after bedtime we have a block of time where me and my husband do some like connecting downtime together. And then some nights, this night that I would typically do this particular schedule, I work. I don't work every night, but I do. And that's something I do want to remind you as you're making this. As a business owner, you have to make the time to make your business a priority. There's a lot of things out there that we could be doing. And not all bad, a lot of good stuff we could be doing. But if your business is your priority, after the Lord and after your family, of course, then you have to make the time for it. So as you're making your own blocks, make a work block. Because if you don't, it won't get done. It just will not. Things do not magically happen. Like we talked about earlier, intentionality and perseverance is the way to make things work. So that is what we're doing. So you have blocked out your day now, right? The next thing to do is to give each block an estimated and realistic amount of time. So if you have all your blocks laid out, you know kind of what each one looks like in your life. So I'm going to use my morning alone block as an example. In my morning alone, I get up at 5 o'clock. That's before everyone else in my house. And then my son comes to me. This is not when he wakes up. He actually wakes up a little bit earlier than this. But my husband gets him up, and then he brings him to me at 6:15 so he can head out to work. So I know I have an hour and 15 minutes in that block of time. That is realistic because that's literally what happens. But if for some reason I get up at 5:30, then I only have 45 minutes. So that happens too. But what I'm saying is write down the amount of time that you have for each of these blocks. Estimated, because sometimes it changes, but also be realistic in what you're doing. So like a flexible one, so that one's pretty rigid, the 5 to 6:15, like those things are basically always happening. But like nap time, my work block is different most days. I put my son down for bed between 11:30 and 12 usually, and then he sleeps between an hour and a half and 3 hours. I don't let him sleep longer than 3 hours. I will wake him up, but he doesn't usually go that long. But I do, so that's a big chunk of time that's different. That's an hour and a half difference. But I work intentionally for whatever time he's asleep, and then once he wakes up, we shift into after nap time, which includes like lunch or a little snack and dishes and then playing. That doesn't matter. Anywho, so that is one of the things that are more flexible. So all of your time blocks can be very rigid, like the first one that I did, or they can be more flexible, like the nap/work block. So I want you to just be realistic and write down the amount of time that you do have for that block. So Now what I want you to do is to pick a block to start with. Don't try to do everything all at one time. Don't overwhelm yourself. If you don't have one that you really, really want to start with, that like you feel like is the one that's craziest during your day, like maybe after dinner time, it's chaos at your house and you're like, I need to start here with something so we can get ourselves in order. If you don't have that, then I really highly recommend you start with the morning one, because when our mornings start well, our days usually go pretty good. So if you don't have an opinion, my recommendation is the morning. So, and that's the example I'm going to give for the rest of this time. Okay. So what I want you to do now is to be realistic with yourself. The time that you have available is one thing. Your emotional and physical energy during that part of the day. If you're doing your morning routine and you know that you are not a morning person, don't try to do everything in the morning. That's crazy talk. Even if everybody on the internet says, do these 75 things in the morning and you'll have the best day ever. Not you. No, friend. You will not have a good morning. You will have a horrible morning and you'll feel bad about the fact that you didn't get all your stuff done. So know yourself. You know if you can do stuff in the morning, if you have the energy to do it. So be aware of that, of who you are, and also of who your family is. I am a morning person. I can wake up and be like ready to roll and do whatever I need to do in that moment. My husband, on the other hand, is not a morning person, and he cannot roll out of bed and just start doing stuff and having conversations. Absolutely not. We actually have a rule in our house that he can only use, I just woke up, for 1 hour after he woke up. So if I try to have a conversation with him, he's like, I just woke up. I'm like, okay, as long as it's only been an hour. Or less than an hour, because after that, nah, man, you can't use that excuse. It's been 3 hours. That's just a side note. Just a little, antidote into my life. Anywho, so let's go over that a little bit again. Be realistic about the time you have available, your emotional and physical energy, and the emotional and physical energy of the people who are also involved in this routine during the time block. Now, I want you to determine your non-negotiables, things that have to happen in this block. Like, they just absolutely have to. Write them down. Now, if you think you still have time, I want you to also write down things that you would like to get done. And it's totally allowed to have free time in there. You don't have to do everything. So give yourself some space and flexibility, some breathing room in your schedule. That's always a super good idea. Then I want you to write those things down. Write down if you want to have some free time. Write down if you want to have playtime with your kids, or if you want to do something very specific. My routines, they are I write play. And sometimes they're playing in the house and sometimes they're playing outside. It doesn't have to be super rigid, just that you are going to do that, right? That you want to do that. So these are the things that I have in my morning routine that none of these things are really negotiable. I guess I could fudge some if I needed to, but they're the things that I want to get done every day, or most days. And so here, I'm going to just read them to you because, like I said, I like examples. This is my morning routine after my son wakes up. We get him out of his crib, read the Bible together, read books, change diaper, play, cook breakfast, eat breakfast, feed dogs, brush teeth, take care of the chickens and dogs, get my kids ready, just the one, I just have the one, get my son ready, and then get myself dressed and ready to go. Okay, so those are the things. And that is not in order. That's just the stuff I need to get done in the morning. That is the example. So after you have all of these things written down that you want to get done, if you aren't alone, like we talked about earlier, other people's emotional energy as well, if you aren't alone in that routine, determine if and how your children and your spouse will help you divide and conquer these tasks that need to be done. You are a team. Talk to your family. Your husband and you should decide together. what can be done. And if one of you are more organized than the other and plan better, if you do this or that better, like, then let the other person handle that. In our evening routine, we divide and conquer. Right after dinner, he takes our son to the bath, and then I do the dishes. And the only reason we do that is because I'm faster at the dishes and I can get them done before he's even done with them in the bath, like, well, about the same time. But he's not that quick. And that's okay. And he knows that, and I know that. Nobody's feelings are hurt. We just know that in our team, I do the dishes faster. And that's cool. And so I do them so they can be done. And so just decide together what you guys can do. Who is in charge of what? And that's what needs to be done. So after you have this idea of what other people can do, right? I want you to put these tasks in an order that makes logical sense. In my example that I gave you guys, I hit every room in my house except for my office, including my backyard. All of them. And there was a time where I was pinging around like a crazy person, like just trying to bounce from room to room, figuring things out, and that's not the best. It's really not. And so it was not fun for me. It wasn't fun for my son. It wasn't fun for anyone involved, because I was just using up all of this emotional energy that did not need to be used at this point. So what I want you to do, the aim is smooth transitions from room to room, from activity to activity. And so we're going to group these tasks by like tasks and by room. And so that you're not pinging around your house like I was. You can just transition from one place to the next easily. There will obviously be times where you have to go back to a room. Like, that's not the end of the world if it doesn't make logical sense, right? So that's what you're going to do next. Put them in order, task them together, or group them together by tasks, by room. After you've discussed with your spouse and determined with your kids, assign and work out with them what tasks will be yours and what will be their responsibility. So earlier I gave you the example of what I need to do in my morning routine, like all the things that are important to us that we do in the morning. And then, so I'm going to give you the same stuff, but in the order that we get them done in, and who is in charge of what. So my son wakes up, but he wakes up before I don't get him. I'm still doing my morning alone time routine. But he wakes up and my husband gets him. So my husband gets him, they change his diapers, he reads to him. So they hang out in his room. When I'm finished my quiet time in our room, my husband brings him to me. And then me and my son, we do more books typically. We read our Bible together. It's a children's Bible on the bed or in the couch, wherever I am. It doesn't really matter. After we finish, we go directly outside. So we don't do anything in the house. We go directly outside and we check on our chickens and our goats, and we do animal chores, and we water and feed things, and we make sure that all of the animals outside are alive. If it's spring or summertime or fall here too, because I live in the deep south, so we can have a very long growing season. We tend to the garden as well. So there's just all these little activities that have to happen outside. And then we just play outside. That's what we do next until he's basically done, my son. And he says he's hungry. And that's usually around 7:30. And we come back in. And then before we eat, we feed all our dogs. My son feeds our dogs with supervision. He's only 2. And so he feeds them, and then we make breakfast, then we eat breakfast, and then Asher, my son, takes his plate to the sink with supervision because he's only 2. And then after we're done with that, we go directly to his bathroom to brush his teeth. And this is where, so the beginning part was never really that hard for me because there's not that much happening. But after he ate, getting us ready was a nightmare. I felt like I was always trying to figure out what needed to be done next, and who was doing what and what needed to be packed and all that craziness, right? But I just put it in an order that made sense, and it has given me so much freedom. So this is the part that's really, really helped me. We go directly, and it's not going to sound complicated when I tell you, like, why did I not do this earlier? We go directly to his bathroom. We brush his teeth in the bathroom. Duh, that was weird the way I said that. And then we go to his room right after we brush teeth to change his clothes. And then after we're done with in there, we go directly to my room, in my bathroom, because they're all in one room. Well, you know what I mean. the master bathroom and the master bedroom. We go in there and I get dressed and I get ready, and then that's the end. That's the end of our routine. And if we have any extra time, then we'll play or do something. But typically it's time for us to head out the door then. So that's it. That's what we do. So that's an example. As you do this, as you put these things in order and you put them in a way that makes logical sense in your for your family, in your house, with what you got going on, give yourself grace and please be flexible, because that is what this is. It will not be perfect. It will require tweaking. It will require adjusting as you work out what is best for you and your family. And when it stops working because the season changes, it's time to change it. Like, that's just it. You're not married to this thing. It's yours. You're not married to it. So change it. So if a season changes and your baby goes from 2 naps to 1 nap, change it. If your husband's all of a sudden is now working nights and you have to rework your whole, you don't know what to do this again. Rework it. You can do it. If your client load doubles, praise the Lord. Rework your schedules and figure out where else you're going to be working. Like, do the things that need to be done. Like, you are in charge of your schedules, and so rework them as needed. So my friends, I really hope that this was helpful for you and that you will rewatch this and walk through the steps to be able to do this. I know this was quick, but we just wanted to get this training out to you as fast as possible. But if you loved it, and I really, really hope you do, I wanted to invite you to a group that I just started. And you guys are the first people I'm telling about publicly. I have invited several of my friends and people I know in the business world into it, and they've joined. But you're the first public people that I have told that I don't really know that well about it. It is called the Peaceful Mom Collective, and it is a supportive community designed for Christian mompreneurs to create peace in their family, in their life, in their business. So in this group, you'll have access to resources, accountability, faith-centered coaching on things just like this, teachings and tools to adapt as you move through seasons, right? And so because this is like the founding and the first time I'm ever mentioning it to a public group, I'm going to be offering it to you for $1 for the first month. It will go up to $17 after that, but for the first month, you get to try it out for just $1. That's it. So I think you're going to love it. But if you get in there and you hate it, like, that's okay. You can get out. You can cancel at any point. It's going to be a good time. You're going to like it. So just come in and join us and just be part of this group of women who are on fire for Jesus, love their families and want to do it really well, and have a business that they care about, they want it to succeed, and they know that it is what God has given them to do with their lives, but they know what's most important: God, family, then their business. And we make those priorities our priorities, and we make them those priorities in that order. So my friend, if you are interested at all, I want you to come in and join. If you have any questions, I want you to just send them to me. I'm going to link the sales page to that group right here in this video, and you're going to use the code PEACE to get that discount, just so it's just $1. So come on in, friends. And seriously, if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to send me a message. I would love to talk to you, even if you only have any questions just about this and you don't care anything about that membership. That's fine too. Let's talk. I'd love to talk to you. All right, my friends, I'm going to let you go, and I hope to hear from a bunch of you. Bye, guys.